Hi folks, you're with Tacitus Today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this radio, audio, no pictures live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk a little bit about uh, what a Trump second term presidency could look like and maybe some of the things that could be done. What should be the expectations of a Trump presidency? Will the deep state nobble him as they did in the previous presidency and reduce the amount of things he could get done to a pretty sort of small set of accomplishments? Not that he didn't try, but was it? There's a lot of material out now online, particularly as the debate approaches, and of course the election coming up is. Some are saying, well, look, Trump's going to win by a landslide. It's going to be huge. Others are saying, look, the deep state's going to nobble him. He isn't going to be able to get anything done. Others are suggesting it'll all be rigged, and so on. So what is likely to be the reality and what could be the expectations? So I'm going to talk just generally and widely about that. Now, just going back to Trump's first presidency, I think he had like a very good man, as in a good person, in Jeff Sessions, as in well-meaning good, in Jeff Sessions as the Attorney General. And I think he was a lawyer originally and had been a senator and so on. So he was, you would think, legally and politically savvy. Yet I was surprised at how frequently he was caught off guard, caught flat-footed. You saw him in some media conferences and so on, and he looked like a guy who was getting beat up left, right, and centre, and it just was staggering around, punch drunk, not knowing what to do next. He made a number of what I would perceive as serious errors in assuming that the Democrats and the deep states, blatantly political attacks were really just legal, administrative, procedural matters that could be handled quietly, and they turned out to be, the Russia hoax, the so-called investigation into that and other things, and really Sessions allowed so many attacks against the administration to not only occur but didn't oppose them and didn't seem to respond or answer them in a way that was anywhere near the super aggressive, super focused activities that the other side would be using. I mean, you have to remember, whenever the Democrats are in power, they use the establishment to go after their political enemies or people that disagree with them or so on. Look at the performance of, say, Eric Holder as Attorney General. Anyone that they didn't like, they just went after them, tax audits, you name it. The apparatus of the state was used for political purposes and used aggressively so, and yet the Trump administration didn't do any of that. Jeff Sessions didn't, and then there was a revolving door of attorney generals that also just didn't seem to want to push back against the deep state and go after their enemies in the same way that the Democrats were prepared to use any device they had, whether it be political, or a senatorial committee, anything, a House committee. The Attorney General's office, using the Attorney Generals at the various different states to go after Trump officials and law. I mean, even if you're a lawyer representing Trump or any of the people, they'll come after you for that and threaten you with disbarment if you represent. So very much a lawfare program, and they went after Trump. On top of that, whenever Trump tried to do something like, for example, close off the border or anything like that, deport illegals, there was an army of lawyers that was ready to jump straight into the breach. They knew all the activist judges, all the activist courts, and they could get things stopped within hours of the Trump administration announcing it. I mean, how well organized and mobilized are these people to be effectively a standing fifth column army to stop anything that Trump wants to do? And Trump could make an announcement on, the administration can make an announcement. It could be, say, a presidential decree or something. Make an announcement on Sunday mid afternoon, and by Sunday late afternoon, some activist group, an activist bunch of lawyers had found an activist federal judge to kibosh it. And you go, wow, I mean, how quickly can these things move? So there needs to be the legal team and the Attorney General's department and the operatives within the Trump administration need to be aware that that's going to happen, and they need to have countermeasures and pushback measures in place. For example, all these NGOs that have tax-free status, cut them off at the knee. Stop, just straight away, stop the tax-free status. Any lawyer that represents a matter injurious to the United States has to be paid, or has to be accountable for that. Maybe they have to put $100,000, $1 million bond on the something to stop the activism that's being funded by the external World Economic Forum, United Nations deep state. I mean, I've got a lot of ideas in that area that can be used, and the Trump administration is welcome to contact me. I'll be certainly very keen to do everything I can to assist. But anyway, they need to have these things in place, because they know that they're going to have this army of people out there to stymie them, and they have to look very carefully, very systematically. What are their sources of revenue? Who's supporting them? Who's paying for them? Do they have tax-free state? Why is this person getting? Why are they claiming that they're doing it pro bono when really they're getting paid over? Look at the big picture here, and go after these people. And in that way, the administration can get through some of its things. Now, this idea of ICE is going to round up 30 million illegals living in or illegally residing and hiding and burrowing underground in the United States. They can deport some and get courts here, but they'll always be able to find another court that will give them a stay. So again, go after these activists, prevent them from spreading the mayhem that they do. Remember, they're not representing America or American interests or anything like that. They're representing external forces that want to injure the United States, and that needs to be accepted and recognized. So they need to, I would suggest, create policies that make it A, undesirable for people to come to the United States, but B, undesirable to stay. If you're illegal, you can stay, but we're going to tax 70% of your overseas remittances. Fine, it's illegal if you get a job, but you have to pay 75% income tax, and so on. There are whole things they can do that just I'm not suggesting that in isolation, but there are whole things they can do to do with taxation and remittances, heavy fines, heavy audits and heavy fines for employers that employ illegals, and if you've got a fake social security number, that's automatic on the spot deportation. These type of things can be done, which will make it, you'll have millions of illegals would just self-deport if they had those sort of requirements to meet, particularly on the remittances and so on. Change the law so that there's no such thing as anchor babies if you're illegal, or if you have any children within the first 10 years of coming to the United States, things like that. And again, it needs to be looked at in totality. And also this idea that Trump came up with under duress from so-called investors, we want lots of triple PhD, super cheap labor type thing, or we can only get that from third world countries. No. This idea of skilled migration must be skilled migration. And by the way, if it's skilled migration, skilled, qualified, internationally recognized qualifications, must be able to speak English, then the amount of people in the whole world who meet that criteria is not vast. But they're very high value immigrants. You may only get 100,000 a year, for example, 100,000 a year coming into the United States, but they're high value immigrants. And they are worthwhile. The illiterate peasant from Mexico is not, or certainly not in comparison to that. Now, the idea that cheap labor is needed to fill jobs that the Americans won't do, that's bullshit. Market forces must be allowed to function. And when market forces can function, then more jobs will become automated, and wages will become higher. And if you move 30 million people out of the United States, illegals this is, I'm talking, and you cut back on the immigration, even when people are on work visas and things like that, tell them to go home, unless they're highly skilled Labor, which they're not, but unless they are, then in which case they can stay, then they can go back to their country of origin. And you'd probably find that somewhere between 30 and 40 million people could be taken out of the US economy. Would this involve a realignment? You bet it would. You bet it would. But it'll be a realignment based on real market forces, not rigged market forces, not invented market forces, and not monopolies and artificial oligopolies and so on being imposed by an elite on the people while the people's standard of living falls through the floor. Now, there's also things like energy policy. Trump's energy policy was, I thought, pretty good. The idea that the green energy is a solution to anything is bullshit, and Trump's policy is to remove all bonuses and incentives and handouts and tax relief to tax offsets for the green energy. You want to come up with a technology that replaces, baseload power replaces oil and gas and so on and coal and whatever. Fine. I'm coming out of that. And if you've got a viable R&D project there, then the government should assist you with that. But outside of that, no. Only that is viable. Anything else is just pie in the sky. And there should be a return to affordable energy, coal, gas, oil, that sort of thing. Affordable energy, and the quicker that happens, the better. And Trump, I thought, was quite good on that in his first term. But again, the quicker he gets, and all these tax breaks and incentives for this green energy scam need to be taken off. Now, just if we can look at the education sector and get rid of the indoctrination of American kids and the like. This anti-white hatred. For example, you bring out a law that says that any sort of offending of any group, white people, you call a white person a Nazi, you're going to prison. Any sort of offending of any group, be it white or any other group, can carry severe penalties. Any teacher or a college lecturer that teaches anti-white hatred, will be looking for another job. All this diversity, equity, inclusion nonsense needs to go. Soft marking of non-white students and so on needs to go, and merit needs to be returned as a standard. And I thought, Betsy DeVos, and this is the education secretary in the first term. She talked tough about doing the right thing, but seemed to be utterly and totally ineffective in the end. There are a few minor cosmetic things she did, but this needs to be pursued with much gusto and focus and determination. And you have to go after it and have a plan B, plan C, plan D, because they're going to block you. They're going to, armies of lawyers are going to try and block you. Whatever activist lawyers will try and block. So if the Trump presidency focuses hard on these things, but has that depth of talent and the loyalty to the and commitment and the capacity to realize it's a fight. This is not, as Jeff Sessions seemed to think, the Attorney General early in the first administration seemed to think it was all a matter of legal administrative paperwork, and they said no, it's a fight, and it's a fight to the death, because the globalists aren't going to roll over and just go, well, the people have decided. Quite the opposite. Their view is that anyone that votes for policies that they don't like must be a Nazi. It's insane, but there you go. So this is something that if the preparation is right and the right sort of people, people as in the capable people, the focused people, the knowledgeable people, the people that understand the implications, gather around Trump, and there has that. You look at places like, say, the Heritage Foundation, and they've got some basic 10-point plan type things for Trump, and they're pretty straightforward. Fix up the education, fix up immigration, fix up the border. These are all, sure. But importantly is this law that if you accuse white people of being Nazis and this sort of thing, that means that if you upset sort of a gay person, or you leave Timex on a gay flag, you can go to prison. Well, look, if you upset or annoy or irritate a white person, falsely claim they're Nazis or slavers, then you will go to prison. And that will level the playing field and will straight away prevent the ability of the news anchors, the the activists in the schools and the universities and so on and so forth from constantly attacking white people and demonizing. Once that stops, or once there are penalties for it, then the playing field becomes level. Then we have to come back to actual policies and what they mean. And that's an important transition. You've been a Tassos today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.